Oh man, coming up next, lost interview footage that I didn't know I had with one of the greatest bands in recorded history. So excited when I found it. There's some real revelations here. There's an all-time #1 hit that happened because the band re-recorded a song they'd already released on their album. When they put it on the album, it was thought of as filler, an album track at best. But then the genius behind their music just woke up one day and knew if he had the band re-record the song and drop one instrument and change the spelling of a word in the chorus, it would be a hit. He was exactly right. The song soared to #1 with a totally different singer than the band had used on their singles before, and it immediately had an effect on what parents would name their newborns. Also, exactly 25 years to the day after the song hit #1, the writer's 2 daughters would have a #1 hit for themselves. Plus, we try to solve a long-term mystery about one of the most famous songs ever on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you ever sported a pair of bell-bottoms or acid-wash jeans, depending on when you grew up, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now. Click the white button and click the bell so you always know when our features come out. Also, check out ProfessorofRock.com to vote for the best band. Man, I am really excited to bring you a lost episode of Revelations. Of course, Revelations where featured artists go deep on the greatest songs and albums, information you won't find anywhere else. So the other day, we used a few interviews for the song Good Vibrations in the top 5 that we did. And in the process, I found some footage that I didn't know that we had. No clue. A lost interview with Brian Wilson. I've interviewed him twice. You've seen the first one, but there's a second one. He was much more talkative in the first one, but there are some really cool things in the second one, some revelations that I'd never seen before. Then I also found additional footage that I didn't know that we had with Al Jardine about the songs Help Me Rhonda, Sloop John B, and some more on Good Vibrations. Really cool stuff here. So on today's song, we're going to talk about the classics Help Me Rhonda and Sloop John B.
Help me, Rhonda, yeah. Get her out of my heart. What's up to John B said? See how the name...
Sloop John B became the biggest hit for this band on the greatest album of all time, Pet Sounds. Well, I consider it to be the greatest album of all time, one of my favorites. Help Me Rhonda has a crazy story. It was released on the Beach Boys' Today album, and it was thought of as filler, an album track. Never going to be a single. Brian Wilson skipped over Mike Love and brother Carl and himself, and they normally sing the big hits, and asked Al Jardine to sing the lead vocal. And then after the album had already been released, Brian woke up one day and realized that Help Me Rhonda could be a huge hit, but he made the band go back into the studio and re-record it. And he decided on some changes. You can hear him when you're playing back to back. He dropped the prominent ukulele, and then he changed the spelling of the name Rhonda from R-O-N-D-A to R-H-O-N-D-A. Well, the band put the song out, and it became their second #1 hit after I Get Around. And Help Me Rhonda had such an impact that for a couple of years after, parents started naming their newborn daughters Rhonda at a pace that made it one of the 50 most popular names for girls for about 5 years, when before that it hadn't been very popular. Also, the band tells us the Good Vibrations was supposed to go on Pet Sounds. A lot of Beach Boys fans know that. But Brian decided to leave it off, and so Al Jardine brought an old folk song to the band called Sloop John B. The band covered it, and it became one of their biggest songs ever. Also, we try to solve an old mystery about Pet Sounds. It's all coming up next with these really cool interviews. Here it is. Help Me Rhonda. Tell me about putting that together. Of course, you sing lead on that, 2 different versions of the song, because it was first an album cut.
Spelled differently, too. We changed the bass line, we dropped the ukuleles, a whole bunch of things changed. The whole premise changed and it became more of a rock piece. It's still a shuffle, but it's a little more, the bass line changed.
Yeah, and it also started out with your vocal instead of just...
And he didn't screw around with the fader going, on the album, you'll hear it. It was a strange fade. It wasn't even a fade out, it was a a blackout.
Yeah.
That's what. So the bass line helped. It really moved it along. We started right off the bat, singing right off the top. Yeah.
Well, since she put me down, I bet I'll do it in my head.
I always remember hearing that song on the radio or just on a CD or a tape.
Mm-hmm.
It's just right in your face from the beginning.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah, just grabs you with that vocal and kind of doesn't let you go. And
Rhonda, you look so fine. And I wouldn't take
Was Rhonda, I just asked Brian about this, but there's always the urban legends about who Rhonda was. Was it just kind of a made up story? Was there a Rhonda?
Yeah. Just the other day he told me. I just made it up. Yeah, he's amazing.
Your approach to Help Me Rhonda. You remember what inspired? Who was Rhonda, and why did you choose Al to sing
There was
that?
no Rhonda. I made up that name, Rhonda. I made that name up. It was no Rhonda.
And Al, why did you choose Al to sing that one?
I just thought he needed a song to sing.
to be my wife, and I was gonna be her man.
Well, do you remember when you guys recorded that? You did that with the Grateful Dead?
We took one of our old songs and we tried to kind of just make an arrangement the way it would sound it was written out. It's called Help Me Rhonda.
We didn't rehearse, so I don't know unless they rehearsed.
I think Jerry just came out and played guitar. I wasn't able to find
he might
the
have done a
footage.
little improvisational stuff because we didn't have time to rehearse. We were just invited over to say hello or goodbye. Actually, it was goodbye, whatever it was. East, Fillmore East.
Do you remember when that song hit number one, Help Me Rhonda? Do you remember, where you were? Tell me about that.
Murray Wilson called me and said, we have a gig we have an opportunity to do this at Sullivan Show. I said, great, fine. Only problem is Brian doesn't want to go. I said, oh, that's too bad. And so we didn't go. We didn't do it.
Really?
In fact, he called me to apologize. That's an interesting memory. He says, I'm really sorry, Al. I said, Brian doesn't want to do it. And, I said, okay.
And you were going to sing Help Me Rhonda on there because it was number one at the time.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's okay. I didn't mind. It was okay. I had enough trips. By then, we were touring so much, it was almost a godsend, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pet Sounds. I want to ask you really quick. So many great things. One of the greatest albums of all time. My favorite album of all time.
Right.
What is the thing you'll remember most about Pet Sounds?
I remember mostly Tony Asher's lyrics and my melodies.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older than we would?
Tell me about Brian in the studio with Pet Sounds. You remember, you guys were out on tour all the time. You come back, he's got these new songs. Kind of tell me the memories that you have of him leaving the studio with Pet Sounds.
We worked hundreds of days, it seemed like. We worked a lot of overtime hours. And fortunately, we're getting some recognition now, because that's, boy. We did we were recording two albums at once, really. We're doing the Pet Sounds and Smile started getting into the agenda. So we were working on back and forth and trying to get Pet Sounds delivered was a big deal. And Good Vibrations was, to me, probably the more important of the songs.
I love the colorful clothes you wear.
And guess what? Brian decides not to put it on Pet Sounds. I'm saving it for later. I'm working on, what? Saving it for what? What?
Yeah.
We worked 6 months on this to get it just perfect. All right, we'll park it over here. And then, so we ended up putting Sloop John B on the album.
We come on this loop, John B.
You brought it to Brian because you're a folkie,
No.
And because there's so many different versions, American Song Bag, Carl Sandburg's and Kingston Trio, of course.
Come on this loop, John B. My grandfather.
When you brought it to Brian, you modified chord changes.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I just got, I basically had to learn the piano myself because I was a guitar player. So I learned the chords that I wanted to play that I felt would fit our style. Because I just had a feeling that Bob Shane's he's a great singer, but they had arranged a more of a Caribbean sound.
I wanna go home. Why don't you let me go home? Well,
He took it probably off of the Weavers.
come on the sloop, John B. My grandfather.
Yeah.
I asked Bob about it. Actually, he said, "Yeah, they inspired us to do it." And I said, "Okay, well, but boy," and then I heard these lovely opportunities for vocals because by then we were pretty spot on with our formula. And I thought, a little two minor here, a little two minor there, just sprinkle it in there with just so. And Brian's listening to this, and it's like he's not even paying attention.
Yeah.
Not even paying attention. Well, we were between, admittedly, we were right in the middle of two other songs. So, but we had a break, and I thought, because I want to take advantage of while I'm still thinking of it, because we're doing so much at the time. And sure enough, he was listening. And he incorporated those into this beautiful production.
Oh, yeah.
Well, obviously, he was just on fire.
Stop the John B. sail. See how the
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
And the lyric changes too. Tell me about those because it's definitely different than the Kingston Trios version. And
just a few
break
minor
up instead
alterations.
of broke up.
Broke up, yeah, because breakup's it was more of a Jamaican.
I feel so break up, yeah.
I feel so break up, man. That kind of thing.
I feel so break up. I wanna go home. I feel so broke up. I wanna go home.
So yeah, the version it fits the trio version because it's very lazy.
Yeah.
But we infused energy into that tune and gave it those classic Beach Boy changes.
The first night he got drunk.
The choruses are slightly different too.
Yeah, and then
Just very slightly.
This is the worst trip.
Worst trip I've ever been on. No, there was that I have been. I feel so break up. Since I have been born.
Yeah, since
That
I've
was
been
one.
born.
Since
Yep.
I have been born.
Yep.
Since I have been born, so now I step the John to go home.
Which the evolution of that was cool. Has become this is the worst trip I've ever been on, and then now it's said by Brian.
The best trip.
I love
This is
that.
the best trip. Yeah, I think the audience does too because they go nuts. And when they hear that, they go, "Oh man,
This is the best trip I've ever been on.
Funny because that's my kid's favorite Beach Boys song. They don't always call it Sloop John B. They call it I Want to Go Home. Play I Want to Go Home.
I wanna
Dad.
go
I want to go home.
I know it's that message keeps coming back, doesn't it?
I want to go home.
Everybody wants to go home again.
Let me go home. I wanna go home. Let me go.
And what's cool is the leads changing from you and Carl and Brian and Mike.
Yeah.
And
Brian's,
an elaborate a cappella vocal
it's
section.
unbelievable. And change of tempos, yeah.
Around Nassau town we did roam. Constable had to come and take him away.
We fortunately had all the elements for a great vocal presentation.
And the biggest hit from Pet Sounds. It went to number 3.
Well, that's it. It saved it.
It did.
It saved the damn album because there's Good Vibration sitting on the shelf over there.
Well, it's funny because I have a conspiracy theory about that. I think if Capitol would have really got behind it, because it went to number 2 in its first week. I think if they would have, went to number 2.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Really?
number 2 record.
There's something strange about that.
To me, it's like if they
that?
wouldn't have put the greatest hits out after that, they would have really supported it. I think it could have.
You need to interview is Carl Engelman. I often wanted to ask him that same question because it went off the charts real quickly. And then they released best of. See, that was a chronology I remember, but you never know.
Yeah.
They may have just wanted to pull it because they didn't have any identity with it.
But that is an interesting road to go down if Good Vibrations would have come out on Pet Sounds. Because I remember as a little kid, I always thought the Good Vibrations was on Pet Sounds.
I know.
Because in my mind,
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's probably why they say Pet Sounds such a great album. I need to listen to it. And then when I listened to it as a little kid, I was like, where's Good Vibrations?
Yeah.
Maybe I got the wrong.
I have to talk to Carl about that.
Also, using Forrest Gump, too. That was pretty cool.
Jeez. Wow. Amazing. Yeah, it's about 7 million albums.
Oh, yeah. Huge
Or maybe
Forrest
probably
Gump.
10, who knows?
Yeah, it was one of the biggest soundtrack albums of all time, one of the biggest of the 90s.
I know.
Tell me about being in the studio writing Good Vibrations. What your memories were of that.
Well, I just remember telling Mike about the idea about dogs pick up vibrations from people. They start barking. And so I said, I had a melody go, bom, 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 to Mike. He goes, hey, wait a minute, why don't we do, I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the. He wrote the lyrics, I wrote the melody.
Good Vibrations was a composite. The track was a composite of several different sessions that Brian did. Finally, he assembled the what ultimately became the single record version of the track, including the theremin, which is a really mystical sounding instrument. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me previously only used in
movies, right?
Yeah, scary
Hitchcock
movies and stuff like that. So it was a really brilliant choice. I came up with, I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. Because the bass was going,
right.
So I came up with that. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations to go with the bass line on the chorus. And of course, then the other harmonies are structured. Good vibrations. So Brian did a brilliant job of the structuring the harmonies, as he always does. But I dictated the words to that song on the way to the recording session. So, I've always felt that in some ways there's the structure of the arrangements of the tracks, and then there's the spontaneity of the lyrics and the hooks and the concepts that come to life just in the moment, inspired by the track.
Tell me your memory about being with the Wrecking Crew doing Good Vibrations. Do you remember anything that stands out to you?
I just remember Carol Kay telling me she really liked the bass line I gave her and stuff like that, yeah. Mel Blaine on drums.
And then I always read that you recorded it in fragments.
Right. We did it in 5 different studios. It's quite amazing. It was quite an adventure. The last one where we did our vocals, that's the one that guys said, Brian, this is going to be a #1 record,
Yeah.
I was teaching them the parts. They go, Brian, this is great, man. This is great.
Because you just done Pet Sounds, you were going into Smile and Good Vibrations. I mean, Psychedelia. Do you remember your approach to that? Was there any thought about that, or you were just kind of writing a song?
I just kind of writing a song. I wasn't really preoccupied with thoughts. I just really liked the way Mike came up with that lyric.
A cool little factoid for you. 25 years to the day after Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys hit #1 with Help Me Rhonda, Wilson Phillips hit #1 with Hold On. Which included Brian Wilson's daughters, Wendy and Carney Wilson, and of course, China Phillips from Members of the Mamas and the Papas. So make sure to leave us a comment about these songs. What are your memories of these songs? What do you think of Help Me Rhonda, Sloop John B? Actually, Sloop John B is my son's favorite Beach Boys song. Both my sons, they just love it. Also, what do you think about Good Vibrations on Pet Sounds? Would it have made it the greatest album of all time for sure? I already think it is, but what do you think? What's the greatest album of all time? Let's have a great discussion below. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Talk about rock and roll history, music history every day. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.